Okay, so today we're going to evaluate the square root of a number by hand. This applies to decimal and non-decimal numbers as well. The examples that I'm showing you today, they will be the complete square root, so there won't be any remainders. So having a look here, what I've done is I've got all these examples from a website. It's from mathonlymath.com. I'll put the link down below, and I'm just going to explain these live, how to action them. Personally, I find this method a little bit nonsensical, but once you practice it a couple of times, it will just become normal, I guess, and it will start to make more sense in how you need to evaluate it. But the actual route that you take, it's a bit of a weird one. So grab a pen, grab a book, follow along. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. We're going to find the square root of 42.25. So the best way to write it out is this way, and then you write your number underneath. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to group our numbers. Now you group them starting from the decimal point. So moving left and right, and you group them in pairs of 2. So this and this. So 2, 5 is a pair, and also 4, 2 is a pair. The reason why we group is because that tells us how many numbers are going to be in our answer. So we know that there are going to be 2 numbers in our answer, and they're going to be separated by a decimal point. Okay, so the first thing that we do is we need to find the largest square number that goes into 42. Now that would be 36, which is 6 times 6. So we put 36 underneath, and we put 6 and 6 here. And then we subtract 36. So 42 minus 36, well, that leaves us with 6. And then what we do is we pull down 25. We pull down the next pair. Okay, this is the nonsensical part. So because we've multiplied 6 by 6, we're going to add 6 here. And then what we do is we find the product of that. So 6 plus 6, well, that's 12. And so we need to leave a blank space here. So what we need to do now is we need to find a number that we can put at the end of 12, which we can multiply that full number by as well, that will give us 625. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put 4 there just to test it. So I'm doing 124 multiplied by 4. Let's see what that gives us. Well, 4 times 4, that is 16. 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 times 4, well, that's just 4. So when we add up the diagonals, we get 6, 9, and 4. So 496, that's not big enough. That doesn't equate to 625. So it's not that answer. Let's try 5 now. So then it becomes 125 multiplied by 5. So I like to write it in the box method because this is the most comfortable way for me to solve this. So 5 times 5, it's 25. 2 times 5, that's 10. And 1 times 5, that's 5. So now add up the diagonals, it's 5, 2, and 6. Well, there we go, 625. We found the answer here. So we know that this value must be 5. Okay, all right. Now, since this is 5, we know that this value was 5 here. And when we subtract 625 from 625, we get 0. So we know that there are no other remainders, there's no other values. So we have completely solved the square root. So the square root of 42.25 is 6.5. So let's try and solve another square root now. The next example that I found is going to be 1.96. So find the square root of 1.96. So same deal again, let's draw up our little box area and put 1.96 underneath. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to group them. So group from the decimal point. So 96 is going to be a group, and then 1 is also going to be a group, even though it's just by itself, that's fine. So now what we need to do is we need to find the value of our square numbers. So we need to find the square number that goes into 1. Well, that's easy. It's just 1 squared. So 1 squared is 1, so put 1 there. And now we need to subtract them. So 1 minus 1, well, that's fine. 0. And then you bring 9, 6 down. Bring that whole thing down. So now we look at the actions. What did we do? Well, we multiplied 1 by 1. So we're going to add 1 underneath. And then 1 plus 1 equals 2. So now we need to find a value here that finishes 2, so it will become 20 something, and then multiplied by that same value will give us 96. So let's have a think. I'm going to try 4. So I'm going to try 24 times 4. Let me put that in a box over here. So 24 by 4. 4 by 4 is 16. 2 by 4 is 8. Add the diagonals. 6, 9. Easy. 96. So we know that this value is going to be 4. So up here it will also be 4. And then we put the decimal point between them. Now 24 times 4, we know that's 96. When we subtract 96 from 96, well, that gives us 0. There are no other remainders, and thus our answer must be 1.4. Okay, so final go now. What we're going to do is we're going to evaluate a bigger number, so a number which has 6 digits in total, 4 in a decimal place. So find the square root of 66.4225. Well, first thing we do, that's right, draw this tabletop or this corner here, and then put your values underneath. Second thing we do is we group. So group from the decimal place, so 4225, and then 66. So we know that our answer is going to have 3 digits in total. And let's work it out. So we need to find a value, a squared number that goes into 66, but isn't bigger than it. So what's the biggest square value that goes into 66? Well, it is 8 times 8, which gives us 64. So 64 will go here, and 8 goes above, and 8 goes to the side. Now we subtract 64. So 66 minus 64, well, that leaves us with 2. And then bring down the next pair, 4 and 2. Don't worry about that decimal point. We just want the full number. So now we're going to read this number as 242. Okay, move to the side now. We've multiplied by 8, so we need to go 8 plus 8. 8 plus 8, that gives us 16, and leave a space to the side. So now we need to find a value here that when we multiply this full number by that same value, it will give us 242. So what could that value be? Let's have a go at, I'm not sure, 3 or 4. Let's try 3. So 163 times 3. Put it in the box method. So 3 times 3, that's 9. 6 times 3, that is 18. 1 times 3 is 3. So it's 9, 8, 4. Okay, that's way too big. That's way too big, so it can't be that. Let's try 162 times 2. So 2 times 2, that's 4. 6 times 2, that's 12. 1 times 2, that's 2. So 4, 2, and 3. 324. No. That's way too big. So let's try 161 now, times 1. Well, that's just going to give us 161, because anything times 1 is that. So we're going to have to put 161 as our value, because it's the largest value. All the others, they just go way over the top. So this is the largest value that doesn't go over 242. So this is a 1, this is a 1, and up here is also a 1. All right, so it was 161. Now let's subtract that. So 2 minus 1, that's 1. 4 minus 6, can't do, carry, borrow. So that gives us 8. And 1 minus 1, well, we can't do that. So now we bring down 25. Okay, moving to the side. 161, well, what we did is we multiplied that one by 1, so we need to add that together. So that gives us 162. Now leave a blank space to the side. So we now need to find a value that, when multiplied by the whole number, will give us 8,125. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try 5. Let's get rid of all this stuff. Because 5 times 5 equals 25, so I think we have a good chance of it. So 1625 multiplied by 5. 5 5s are 25, 2 5s are 10, 6 5s are 30, and 1 5 is 5. So now add your diagonals. 5, 2, 1, 8. There we go. That's the right one. So this is 5, this is 5, and up here, that's 5. And we know that 125 minus 125 is 0, so there are no remainders. But we have 3 numbers here we need to put a decimal point in, and that's easy. So there are 3 pairs, 1, 2, and 3. 2 of them are after the decimal point, so we're going to have 2 decimal places. So the square root of 66.4225 is 8.15.